Welcome to the Killshot MMA podcast. It's UFC Denver. We are back after International Fight Week. Your main event, we had fights flipping in, flipping out. DraftKings posted 7 fights, but we're up, we're going. We got 11 fights. We got salaries for all of them. We got a main event of Thug Rose Namajunas and Tracy Cortez. The rest of the card, little sus, but you know what? We got fights back. I think there's some really interesting DraftKings spots to attack on this card. We're going to break it all down. A couple bet spots that we were talking about pre-show that we are going to go through. I'm Sniper. That's the man, the myth, the founder, the legend of DFS Army, the geek. Two-man. Monk is stuck in traffic. He might jump on, he might not. But are you ready for UFC Denver?
Yeah, I like this card. I like the elevation. You know, Denver, you have to remind yourself, we're at elevation. People with cardio issues, it's going to come out. If you're not training, it's going to come out. People who train in Denver, better spot. So we have that going on. I love that little bit of extra sort of strategy. But I wanted to actually reference back to last week and get your thoughts on the Ortega situation where T-Sizzles. So weird. I just want, I don't have a strong opinion. I wasn't looking too good last week. Wasn't crushing anyway 2 weeks ago, right? But Ortega says, I can't fight, right? And that didn't really shock me. But normally what happens is DraftKings cancels everything. But in this case, we get a last-minute step up. It was Dan Ige, right?
Yes.
Dan Ige steps up and basically becomes this alternate opponent. And DraftKings decides to score. Who is? I don't even remember who Ortega was fighting.
Diego Lopez.
Yeah, Lopez. DraftKings decides to score Lopez. How did you feel about that? Because that's kind of a weird one.
That's what they always do, and it's in terms of. To me, it's no different than when we get salaries out and a fighter canceled and you get chalk. Now it's chalk you didn't know about, and it's a little bit it's a shitty situation because I understand this isn't right, unfair advantage, but realistically, the only thing they could do with when that news came out is cancel the whole fucking slate. So
everybody zeros. Both of those fighters get zeros and play out the slate, or do this, which is only one guy got a zero. They figure, only one guy got a zero. Fewer people will be pissed. And
it really didn't matter, honestly. It was part of that is a big deal, but I mean, Lopez didn't put up a big score, did he? I don't think he put up. Yeah, it could have been a bigger deal. I don't think it was. Honestly, that's the way I would have handled it from DraftKings. I get the people the other side of it. I don't really have a strong take either way, other than the people I saw who were cancel the whole slate. This is bullshit because they lost everything. It's a risk of DFS. And I hate when DraftKings gives us that line when the stuff that drives me crazy, that is just a weird circumstance. What we have to get fixed, the bigger issue, is when clearly everyone knows a fight is off 3 hours before and we don't find out until after lock because the UFC, that's when they announce it. And it's more so, it's not even on DraftKings. It's not announced. They can't put it out. DraftKings is a sponsor of the UFC. The UFC had just tell us before lock or bump it back. That's the bigger issue to me. That's what drives me crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I don't have a strong take on it either. And I normally have strong takes on things. And I'm just not sure what I felt about it. I was like, that's weird. I was just a little surprised more than anything else. But I was like, meh, all right.
Yeah, I got the first. We talked last week. I was gonna know the fate of my night early on. Early did not go my way. I scratched back to, I think I got 70% back in cash games, and whatever. It was kind of a blah international fight.
Obviously, for me, I played it heavy. Ricky Simone, and he was first time ever not to go for takedowns until round 3. That was kind of weird.
That was awful. So very early, my GPP was shit, but I got some back in cash and took a week off. Had some hot dogs, had a little family time up at Legoland, and we're packing ready to roll.
Let's go. All right. Well, let's get into it. We got a card here.
We do have a card. We're starting off with the main event. As I mentioned, Thug Rose Namajunas and Tracy Cortez. This was supposed to be Thug Rose and oh god, I just drew a blank. Who was Thug Rose supposed to fight? Cortez is the last.
I did know that. Wait a minute. I'll tell you in a second here. It was Macy Barber was canceled.
Thank you.
Yeah, Cortez.
That's right. And
Cortez has a win against Macy, right?
No. You thinking of Jasmine? No, but she hasn't beat she hasn't fought Macy Barber. Anyway, so
somebody who's fighting today does have a loss to Macy Barber, who's fighting on this card, I think, but I can't remember who. We'll get to that one, I'm sure.
Namajunas right now is lined at minus 218 on DraftKings. The comeback on Cortez is plus 180. Fight goes to decision, which is really important here, is minus 250. Your DraftKings salaries, Namajunas is 9,000. Cortez is 7,200. The reason I wanted to point out the goes to decision odds, especially an 11 fight card, 7,200 for Tracy Cortez in a women's MMA fight that's minus 250 to go to decision, and she wants to grapple. Cash game lock. I don't even care what you do with Namajunas. I can make the argument I don't really want to play a ton of Rose. I probably will stack it up on an 11 fight card. I'm not committing to that, but I haven't built yet, so I can't commit either way. I do know that Cortez is in my cash game lineup, locked, sealed, delivered.
Yeah.
And I'll argue, even though I'm going to pick Rose, I think Cortez is the better DraftKings play. There's tons of big upside, slate-breaking potential fights. Namajunas, yeah, she gets 5 rounds, but she's going to be just striking probably. The volume could get her there. 9,000 is tough. She's not a lock for the optimal over 5 rounds. On top of that, I know they're close in age, but Rose is fight older. She seems to be wearing, and she's continually susceptible to grappling. If she's going to get beaten, it's by a grappler. Now, I'm just laying out the case for Cortez. I do think it's too big of a step up, and Rose will be able to maintain distance and get the striking-based decision. But I'm not super confident in it. I think Cortez is the better DFS play for all the reasons I listed, and I will have her probably get more lineups than Rose, even though I'm not picking her straight up on an 11-fight card. Geek, what's your take on the main event?
Rose Thug, she's so difficult to predict. A lot of it is because I think of all fighters, she seems to be very vulnerable to like who's coaching her at any given time. And she's just very up and down. There's psychological, mental shit going on with her that I don't know how to predict it. She goes from destroying Weili Zhang to losing to the wrestler.
The Carlos Esparza fight was the grossest fight. That was the female Derek Lewis. Francis,
it was brutal.
Something.
But that's her whole career. So I never know which Rose you're going to get, which automatically makes Tracy Cortez live. And when you look at the stats on paper, hey, listen, Rose, not the best takedown defense, 69% career takedown defense, not that good. And Cortez wants to go for takedowns, averaging over 2, almost 3 takedowns per 15. So on paper, yeah, Tracy lands more strikes, is a little bit more aggressive with the grappling, hasn't lost, which is good. We don't really have a lot of, we don't know where her ceiling is because we haven't seen the loss yet. So that's good. But of course, Rose has been fighting the best of the best for a while. She knows how to get it done. I don't really necessarily think, a 33, what's her age? Year old. I don't really buy like the fight age thing for a female fighter. She's 32. I don't really buy that. I just kind of think, is she training hard? If she's given it her full blast, she will just find a way to win this fight. But Tracy is live, and it's a women's fight. I totally agree with you on Cortez also being a cash punt. But yeah, the reason you don't play Rose isn't, if Rose wins, she'll probably put up a score good enough. Just probably will. Just 5 rounds.
Yeah, probably. And maybe, I don't know.
I'm not definite. Probably. But, there are some favorites that are pretty locked in and they're going to score massive when they win. So I don't have any problem skipping her like in your cash lineup when you're paying up and just go for a couple of these 9K other fighters who have better win odds and just likely to smash no matter what.
Totally agree.
So, yeah, final pick is I am picking Rose to win the fight, to pull it out, just the experience. But Cortez is live. She's a live dog. And she, you have to respect that. And if she does win, I guarantee you 100% that will be the nuts. That will be a nuts score if Cortez wins.
Let's move on to the co-main event. We've gotten some really weird-ass co-main events the last 2 months, and this one fits right the fuck in. It's Santiago, the Argentine dagger, Ponzinibbio, taking on the king of Kung Fu, Muslim Salikov. Line on this fight, let's do that first. The line right now on DraftKings, Ponzinibbio is minus 200. Salikov is plus 165. Fight does not go to decision is minus 150, our odds to see a finish, and your salaries as of right now. Ponzinibbio is 8,800. The comeback on Salikov is 7,400. And Geek, we got two guys, both north of 38. Ponzinibbio is 37 right here. Old, especially for welterweight, 37's up there. Two older guys, two guys who have both lost 3 of their last 4 fights, and we got a co-main event. So how do we handle this?
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird one. I'm gonna lean Ponzinibbio here. It's important to note these guys not super grapply. I don't think we're going to see a ton of that. Salikov does go for a takedown every once in a while, but he's not the king of kung fu. He's the king of kung fu, not the king of BJJ, right? He's not trying to do that. And Ponzinibbio is probably a better grappler anyway. So it really comes down to, I think it's going to be a striking battle between these two guys. I think it's boring. I think it's going to be low scoring. I don't see a ton of volume coming out without a knockout. But Ponzi he's a higher volume guy. He's a little younger. I think he's a little fresher. He's been fighting better guys. You're talking about these guys coming off losses, and they are. But, Ponzinibbio's been fighting better guys and losing to them. Salikov is fighting, I'm not sure this guy's
Randy
UFC
Brown
material guys.
And Nicholas Dalby.
Yeah, he's losing to Dalby, though. Dalby is not that terrible, but
I mean, his losses in this stretch, his losses are to the Leech, Dalby, and Brown, whereas Ponzinibbio's losses are Jeff Neal, Michel Pereira, and Kevin Holland.
You can't fault Ponzi for those losses. Those are good losses against quality guys. All 3 of those guys are kind of fighting in the top 10. So I think Ponzi's a little fresher, a little faster. Muslim over the age of 40. The win, give me Ponzi here. But I don't like the score possibilities at all. I think this one is scoring terribly. We're probably looking at like a 65-point decision win that won't be super relevant. But you take a little bit of exposure for that, KO upside, I guess.
Yeah, the thing is, I was weird. It's minus 150 to end inside the distance. That has me a little bit more exposed than I was thinking. The second round, it's got to be, clearly can't be third round. It depends on volume, and I'm with you. I trust Ponzinibbio a little more. That minus 150 number has me a little bit higher than you, but not a lot. Also worth noting, Ponzinibbio, a really good boxer is his style, and he has a 3-inch reach advantage, and he's the type of guy who can use the reach. Pretty much agree. I lean towards Ponzinibbio, not a high exposure fight, and kind of just a ho-hum co-main event, in my opinion. A lot of other great fights.
Weird. It's weird that one's the co-main. I don't know. Like, what would I choose as the co-main?
Right here on short notice. Fight that this fight I think is the co-main, okay. And it is a red alert, alarm bell should be going off. At least for me, this is a fucking all-in fight, and I'll lay out why here. So we got Drew Dober taking on Jean Silva. Short notice fight. Jean Silva, we saw him 2 weeks ago, the last card. International Fight Week, he knocked out Charles Jourdain 1 week, 19 hours ago. It's weird. It's a weird thing in topology. Odds on this fight, odds on line. So Drew Dober, is it flipped? It is not flipped yet.
Not yet.
I think it will flip right now. DraftKings, it's minus 115 for Dober, minus 105. Some books have it dead pick 'em at minus 110. Your salaries here, middling salaries, the dead middle fight of the slate, 8,200 for Dober, 8,000 for Jean Silva, and the all-important fight ends inside the distance, minus 300. Minus 300 at middling salaries is almost all the way all in anyway. Then you got a guy in Jean Silva who's full of finishes. Drew Dober is a fun, action-packed fighter. This is a great fight. Middle salaries. I like Jean Silva quite a bit. I've always been a Drew Dober truther too. I've been the one on this podcast yelling people, play Drew Dober, play Drew Dober. He's fallen off a little bit. The Frivola and Moicano losses. He can be taken down. Silva swings big. Dude's aggressive, moves forward. I like Jean Silva. I think he's the play. I'll be underweight to Drew Dober. Actually, if I'm going all in, maybe 65, 35, 70, 30. And then even if a Dober gets a win, I'll probably be field weight or a little over anyway. But I am taking quite a large stand on Jean Silva in GPPs. I think it's a good matchup. I hate going against my boy Drew. GPP only fight at those numbers. I think there's other cash spots personally. But if Jean Silva was your last man in, I don't think I'd hate it on an 11 fight card. So yeah, give me Lord Assassin Geek. I'm hoping you're with me here.
I'm with you big time. I already bet this one. I bet Jean Silva in this one. I love it. I like the kid, man. He's got an it factor. He's a finisher. He's a killer. And, Dober is a 35-year-old guy, best known for having a really, really good chin, taking a beating, and then coming back from it. And I like Dober. I think he's a good fighter, nice striker, everything good. But he's never been great.
The two things I didn't mention that I think we should talk about is that Dober is from Denver. He does have that advantage. And because Jean Silva just fought, this is actually up a weight class for him. Like, he's a featherweight coming up to lightweight. I think he's still strong enough to grapple, and he also missed the featherweight limit last time out. He's not going to be – he'll be smaller, but he won't be undersized.
Let's take a look at their size for a second. 5'7", 5'8". They're about the same size. I don't know about thickness, so shouldn't be too big of a deal. Yeah, I don't like guys going up in weight class, to be honest. But yeah, he missed weight in the last one, so maybe this is where he needs to be. Anyway, as far as the stats go, yeah, Silva does have some takedown upside. He can get a takedown if he wants, and I think that's might be his saving grace. If this fight starts to go the way of he's getting pieced up, he can use that grappling. He's got an out, so to speak. And that giant chin target of Drew Dober, like, you can't swing and miss it. I mean, you can't miss it, right? He's got this giant chin, a giant head. So I like Jean Silva here, the Lord Assassin. He is my pick, but I agree with you. I don't know if I want to be 100% exposed to the fight, because it could also just be a decision. Like, it can defy the minus 300 and become a decision fight. And there is a possibility of a decision fight without much grappling. There's these possibilities that are there. So I don't necessarily think I'm going to be 100% exposed. Let's see what happens. But I'm going to have a ton of this fight. But mainly my pick is Silva. I have bet Silva to win this fight. I love it. He finishes everybody. He's a killer. This guy's a killer.
Yeah,
or at least he's been one so far. Has he gone to decision ever?
Let's look real quick.
Oh, there it is. Kevin Vallejos. Yeah, he did. But I mean, that's one. So out of his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11 fights, he's finished 10 of his last 11, and most of them in round one. This guy is bad, man.
Yeah,
honestly, would you step in with this guy round one? Fucking killer, man.
I wouldn't step in with fucking anybody. You crazy?
I wouldn't step in with Jasmine DeVicious round one. Forget about this.
I mean, is she going to grapple me? Because then maybe.
No, she's going to punch. She won't even bother grappling because she's going to test her striking.
Pass.
Yeah.
Hard pass. 11 fight card, by the way. I'm taking 2 stands. I'm going if not all in, 90, nearly all in. That's just how I approach these slightly smaller cards for GPPs. This is one of them. We'll get to the second here in a little bit. So we're on the same page here. Let's go ahead. Let's talk about a fight that not an all-in fight, only because it's going to be one-way traffic. Gabriel Bonfim taking on Anheliger. Anj, I'm not calling you the last ninja. I'm calling you Anj, the fucking quitter, Lusa. That was disgraceful quit job against Brian Battle last time out. Odds on this fight for Bonfim and Lusa. Bonfim is minus 340. The comeback on Lusa is plus 240. Fight ends inside the distance is minus 220. Your DraftKings salary. Bonfim, the most expensive fighter on the card, but it's not cost prohibitive. It's $9,300 for him. Lusa is $6,900. The ultimate get right spot here for a UFC get right spot here for Bonfim Geek is he was big hype prospect. Him and his brother Ishmael Bonfim. He took the loss to Nicholas Dalby last time out, and they go, okay, let's get our star right here. Let's give him Angelusa. How do you have
I think once you lost to Dalby, you have to be taken off the rising star list. Just no. It's
not good.
He was fraud checked, and that is what happened. Okay. You don't just lose to Dalby and then come back. Oh, that was a blip. No. We were wrong about the level of prospect that this guy
The good
is.
news is it's Anheliger, who's the same level as Munir Lazzez and
Very
Trevin
similar.
Giles. Yeah,
I'm just gonna get some stats of these guys. Like, there is one thing to note. What do we love about Bonfim in the DraftKings fantasy world? Well, we love that this guy is an aggressive grappler who scores monster scores when he wins his fights, or has put up monster numbers every time he's won. Okay, 119 against Munir Lazzez, 97 against Giles, and unfortunately, both of those were fast submission finishes, right? So, but good scores in his first couple fights. Takes on Dolby, is doing the same thing, takedowns, doing his thing, and then just gets knocked the fuck out. And so he's got some vulnerabilities. He's got some chin issues. One thing I note about Anheliger is, and you know, not impressive, and in some ways impressive in other ways. His wins are not impressive. He hasn't beaten anybody good, but he does have 90% takedown defense. So I'll throw this at you. Do you think Bonfim will be able to? I'm leaning yes, but do you think Bonfim will be able to take him down at will?
Yes. I mean, he's stopping the takedowns of guys like beat John Howard in the region. He's stopping Munir Lazzez, AJ Fletcher, and Reese McKee. I don't give a fuck. Like, who cares? Like, I know Bonfim got fraud checked. I get it. I still think Trevin Giles is better than any of the wins Anheliger has. And then, Munir Lazzez as well. Trey Waters. Like, I get the quality competition, but Bonfim, I'm still going with the eye test here. He's better. He's aggressive. He's a better striker. He's a better grappler. He finishes. The UFC know what they're doing with this get right spot. Bonfim is a spot here. For me, it is the core play of the 9K range. There's only 3 fighters up there this week, but for me, he would be my favorite. It's not like we're playing, even though it would have paid off, we're not paying Peyton Talbot 9,800 like 2 weeks ago. 9,300 for the most expensive fighter. I'm down.
Totally fine. And again, an aggressive grappler going up against a guy who's not that good. So yeah, Bonfim, if he's doing his game plan, he's scoring well on DraftKings. We haven't even really seen it because he's finished both of his wins really quickly. But if you went back and watched the Dolby fight, he was kind of doing stuff that we would be really happy with up until he got knocked the fuck out. So, more of the same.
All right, let's move on to, at least for me, one of the more interesting fights on the card, and I may have just tipped my hand a little bit, but we got C-Rod Christian Rodriguez taking on Julian Juicy J Arosa. The line on this fight, Rodriguez is minus 205 right now. The comeback on Arosa is plus 170. Fight goes to decision is minus 135. Your salaries right now, C-Rod is 8,900. Arosa is 7,300. Look, this is an interesting spot. This is going to be, I didn't pick many dogs on this card. It's only 11 fights, although the other dogs I picked were mid-range. This is the biggest dog by far that I am taking this week. Look, Christian Rodriguez to me is very fortunate to be in a 4-fight winning streak. This quote-unquote win against Isaac Dalgarian is complete horseshit. And trust me, I bet Dalgarian, and you can call bias all you want. Go watch that fight. I still don't understand. The anti-grappling bias in MMA is going too far.
I remember I bet Dalgarian as well. And I think Dalgarian was like minus 200 at the close, or minus 270. Like, the money thought he was going to win. Yeah, 7 takedowns for Dalgarian in that fight.
Yep. It was really bad.
Yeah.
So, look, he's okay everywhere. He's got, he lost to Jonathan Pierce. He can be grappled. Arosa's a guy, he fraud checks guys. Like, that's who he is. And what's interesting here is that Christian Rodriguez also fighting up in weight. He's had, or where are they now? Christian Rodriguez is way undersized in this matchup. Julian Arosa is 6 inches taller, 3.5-inch reach advantage.
He's always that way, though.
Yeah, I just look. I've been down on Juicy J in the past. He's got his losses to Alex Caceres and Fernando Padilla. I don't think Rodriguez has got the power to bother Julian Arosa. The problem is that I've seen Arosa's chin checked quite a bit. I think skill for skill, I think at range, grappling, I actually think Julian Arosa is a little more put together. The problem has always been his chin. I think we got a little bit of recency bias on Christian Rodriguez with this number and the 4-fight winning streak. And I actually think Juicy J's skill for skill is a little bit better than Christian Rodriguez. It's can you stay conscious? And that big can you is why I'm not going to fade Christian Rodriguez. In terms of live dogs, Arosa's my guy this week, other than those mid-range dog we'll talk about later. He is the cheapest person, I think, whose skill for skill is as good, if not better, than his opponent. So I'm going to be forced to take some Juicy J shots this week. It's a weird week for me in that I'm behind Julian Arosa, who I have talked shit about, and I am against Drew Dober, who I've been yelling is underrated. I think it's just matchups and styles make fights, as is father time for Drew Dober. So give me Arosa. Geek, I don't think we're on the same page on this one.
No, I have a little angle here that I kind of see. I think with Christian Rodriguez, we haven't quite seen, like in the UFC so far, we haven't really quite seen the guy I kind of saw before the UFC in some of those regional fights. He's a little more grapply than what we've seen. And I think that, like, he's averaging just over 1 takedown per 15 so far in his career, but he's fought grapplers. And so he's actually been inspired not to go for takedowns. Think of it. Rosas Jr., you're not taking him down. He's taking you down. You're trying to stand with Rosas Jr. Same thing with Dolgarian. Dolgarian was a crazy grappler, and you're just trying to stay. So I think here, the way Christian Rodriguez wins this fight, if he's going to win it, is a heavy grappling game plan. Juicy J, for all of his abilities, he is not. His takedown defense is absolutely terrible. For the length of his career, it's one of the worst. So one of the worst. He's at 58% for a guy who's fought, I don't know, there's like 15 fights of data for that. So this is one of the worst takedown defense guys you're generally going to see. He's 35. He's probably not improving there. And if Christian Rodriguez wins, I think it's going to be a grappling heavy game plan. I think he will do that, and I think he will win. But I agree with you. There are a lot of versions of this fight playing out where Arosa gets it done. So, you know, he's had some good finishes. He's knocked out people he maybe shouldn't at times. He throws a ton of volume when he's standing. I like the way that Juicy J fights. But remember that Juicy J also fights with his hands down and gets himself knocked the fuck out. Like, we forgot about that a little bit, but he gets himself knocked out.
I remember he does.
A lot. He's got no chin, so he cannot be trusted, and you cannot fade his opponent. That's why I like Christian Rodriguez. And actually, when you compare him in price, you know, he's the same price, or he's up there in that 9K zone. What is he, 9,100? What's his price? Yeah, 8,900. There he is. Yeah. So he's 8,900 this week. You know, people are going to be attracted to Bonfim at 93 or Santos even against Agapova. Rodriguez probably goes overlooked a little bit. And I think he's very playable. I think, you know, if he wins, he can get a finish. He could just knock Juicy J out, and the guy's got no chin. We know that. Or it could be grappling heavy or a little bit of both. So I think there's potential for Christian Rodriguez to score well here. But I would agree with you as well in the sense that Arosa, as an underdog play, I'm fine with that. I am picking Christian Rodriguez, though, to win this fight inside the distance.
Got it. Like it. Let's move on. Let's talk about another fight that I think is going to be important for DFS here. It is Cody Brundage taking on Abdul Razak Alhassan. This is my other all-in fight of the card.
All-in. Okay.
Yeah. Cody Brundage is the dog right now, plus 140. I'm looking at on DraftKings, minus 165 for Abdul Razak Alhassan. Fight under 1.5 rounds, minus 150. Fight ends inside the distance, minus 400. It kind of spells it out right there. Your DraftKings salaries are also not ridiculous. And then Alhassan is 8,500. Brundage is 7,700. Geek, you get the lead for this one.
Yeah, I mean, Abdul Razak Alhassan, you know, there was a point, I think he had a little run in his career where he'd knocked out a bunch of fights in a row, first round finishes. We were like, oh, this guy's crazy. He's a killer. And he was, and he kind of is. But, you know, he gets tired. He doesn't have much going on if he can't execute his, you know, his like fast finish style. There's no volume there. So either he's going to finish somebody early or he's probably getting finished. And, you know, that's who Razak Alhassan is. Cody Brundage is also, he's one of these guys you never want to kind of put much faith into, but you know, he pulls out a win here and there. The things that Brundage has going for him is he is a grappler. He's going up against a 50% takedown defense guy in Alhassan. And I would imagine that he probably knows he should be going for takedowns and hopefully getting them. Alhassan has nothing off his back. Nothing. I assume he just doesn't enjoy really training that way. He just never really got better in his career, and he just doesn't care. You know, either he knocks you out fast or not. So he's 38 years old. I don't think he's getting better. And for that reason, I'm actually going with the underdog here. As crazy as you might think this is, Cody Brundage, Kev? Didn't that guy lose to
it's not that crazy.
Dumas, you know, who's kind of, you know, but yeah, I think it's Brundage here. He needs to weather the storm, get a takedown or two, and then in Denver elevation, and this is what I was talking about at the beginning. In Denver elevation, a guy like Alhassan, who's like a muscle get tired guy, doesn't really generally fight to you know, to decision. I think that's the area where Brundage might be able to take over and get it done. So yeah, I don't have a lot of faith in him. This is not a high confidence, and I think you want both sides of this one. But I'm going to pick Brundage here to get it done as an underdog.
Yeah, this is a both-sider because I mean there are worlds, I guess, where Cody Brundage, the way Alhassan fights, if he gets tired, Brundage could knock him out. But really, it smells like either Alhassan's going to finish him early because Brundage can be hit and finished, or Brundage is going to get a takedown. And Alhassan looks so bad off his back, I don't think he can get up. Whether Brundage submits him, you know, fucking beats his head into the ground, like all of that is in play. It seems like a very binary fight. Late rounds are going to be exhausted. I still think when Brundage is tired, his go-to is grappling. I see points here. There are obviously in every fight you could make the argument how there's not going to be points, but it's a hard sell for me here. And both guys are in the mid-range. I just think more often than not, this fight is in the optimal. It's one of those I'm going to take a stand on and load up. I usually lean towards the grappler. Cody Brundage looks so bad in some of these fights. I'm going to pick Alhassan, whose losses are to better guys, and Malkoun, who that loss has aged really well. You know, so is Joaquin Buckley, and then Joe Pyfer. Whereas Brundage is losing to Bo Nickel, which obviously then lost to Cedricus Dumas and Rodolfo Rivera, which don't try and
you know what loss that Razak Alhassan had that really kind of messed me up a little bit, and maybe
like Chaos Williams or something.
In him, it was the loss to Munir Laziz. That one was brutal, and it kind of lost faith. And
the Munir Laziz one, I can tell you why you should cut him some slack on that one. If I have my timeline right, he didn't fight for 2 years here. He was off for 2 years, and this is when he was dealing with his false sexual assault allegations, and he came back after 2 years off. Like I don't think his head was right. Like I just don't think he was there. He's missing weight. Like it was. If I remember right, I think that's the timeline of all this stuff. Or
these guys are tough dudes, but both of them kind of suck.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna, and Alhassan's getting older. Regardless, I am on the Alhassan side, but it's a GPP load up both sides fight.
That's fair.
Now we get to talk to a fight that I can't get this fucking guy right. So just I'll be honest off the rip. There's every once in a while you come across a guy you cannot get right. And Joshua Van is that guy. And he's fun to watch. I like Josh Van. He's taking on Charles Energy Johnson. Line on this fight. Van is minus 205. The comeback on Johnson is plus 170. Fight goes to decision, I believe, is minus 275. So not expected to see a finish here. And your DraftKings salaries. Joshua Van's priced up at 8,700. Charles Johnson is 7,500. So immediately minus 275 to go to decision. Charles Johnson is in play for cash games, just at that number. I'd rather Cortez, but Johnson becomes in play at that number. He just is. Josh Van is the guy who last time out excluded. Felipe Bunez is terrible. Like exclude this one. He loses first rounds and then overwhelms guys with volume and pace and moves forward. That always going to work for so long. Kevin Borjas, Zhlagas Yamagulov, like Is that going to keep working? Not that Charles Johnson is anything spectacular. Could work again. Where I've gotten Van wrong is the volume. He just keeps moving forward and throwing volume. He's just in your face, scoring points. Go, 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 go. So even at minus 275 to go to decision, Van's in play because he's under 9K. Even in decision, he throws that much. I have a hard time getting behind him because of those numbers and that style, and I tend to think it's going to catch up to him. I can't pick against him here. I'm on the Van side. I'm not going to let him totally beat me again. But there's a disclaimer on why I've gotten him wrong before, how I've gotten him wrong, and why I think I'm going to not make the same mistake again, but watch Charles Johnson go out and fucking finish him and just make me eat shit. But I'm on Van for this one. Geek, how about for you?
Yeah, I like Van here. And 8,700 draft kit. Love the price. This is a guy who has scored. What's that?
He's 22 years old still.
Super young, improving every time. You know, I remember watching tape of his from before the UFC. He has leveled up with each fight. He gets better. He looks more polished. He's super young. Charles Johnson, we know who Charles Johnson is. It's not that good. Okay. It's not that good who that is. Charles Johnson is a guy who's, you know, barely beating Zalmagulov when they fought. Let's put it that way. Winning by split decision where Van destroyed him. So Josh Van currently landing 9 strikes per minute, massive volume, has takedowns. Charles Johnson, just a guy. Yeah, I mean, I think the odds are right here. I like Van. I think Van, I'm getting on board the Van. I'm riding the Van up.
That's terrible.
I don't know. I was trying to think of something. But yeah, I'm on the Van wagon.
There you go. That's a good one. I like the Van wagon.
The Van wagon? Okay, we can do that. So I'm on the Van wagon. Like, I don't think we've seen sort of the peak of what Josh Van is going to be or what he can do. I like him. Minus 205. It's fair. 8,700. Guy has scored massive. How does he score poorly? If he's going to land so many strikes and there's no grappling, this is probably going to be a freaking striking bonanza for Van, as usual. Give me Josh Van here. And I don't know if he's going to be heavily owned, but again, I like this range on this card where you don't, you know, the 88, the 87, we're sub 9K, and there's lots of good potential fighters here. Gene Silva at 8K, I think. Lots of good fighters sub 9K.
Let's go to a fight that's the weirdest line in the card for me. Maybe I'll eat a ton of shit, but I don't get it. Jasmine DeVicious taking on Fatima Klein. Klein is taking this fight on short notice, making her UFC debut. They are fighting. I believe this fight is at flyweight, actually. When Jazz DeVicious has fought at bantamweight before. Typically, Klein is a strawweight coming up, obviously, for short notice. This fight. Line on this fight, Klein is favored at minus 125. The comeback on Jazz DeVicious is minus 105. So it is closed a little bit towards Jazz DeVicious, which thank God, because I wasn't understanding. I know me and you have moved this line a little bit. We'll get to that in a second. Real quick, I got to pull up the fight goes to decision line is minus 325. Who gives a shit, because we should see some grappling. Geek, how are we attacking Jazz DeVicious and the Archangel?
You know, anytime you have these female fighters coming out of Cage Fury or wherever the hell Fatima was fighting, Fury Pro and Cage, she's fighting absolute nobodies. So we don't have any sort of idea if she's good or bad, which is why I think it's so crazy that they installed her as a favorite against a larger and much more experienced opponent here in Jazz DeVicious. I think that's bizarre.
Who wants to grapple?
Like, does somebody know something? I don't know. Who is... I mean, Jazz DeVicious has a bad loss on her career. The Elise Reed loss was not that long ago, but it was early in her career, and she's gotten better since then. Beyond that, you know, Jazz DeVicious looks the part of a UFC fighter who's going to be hanging around the top 10 at 125 for, you know, the next... little bit, I guess. She's kind of old, actually, so I don't know how long she can hang around, but she's looked the part. And Fatima, we don't know anything about her, so of course I'm going to take my shot on the vet, who's got real wins against UFC opponents that we know are good. Miranda Maverick, you know, Fernandez, she's got a win. I don't know if I'm going to say.
Yeah, her losses are Tracy Cortez and Natalia Silva. Like, okay, cool. No problem there.
Tracy Cortez is literally fighting at the top of this card. Natalia Silva has not lost yet. We don't know her ceiling. She looks really good. So, yeah, I mean, I think Jazz is that. She is not one of the scrubs. And Fatima Klein should probably be fighting a scrub before moving up to Jazz a bit. Like, was Priscilla Cachoeira not available? Where's Kay Hansen in all of this? Like, give me one of those.
Yeah, I haven't heard that name in forever, and she's busy on OnlyFans. You know that?
Is she? She's an OnlyFans.
Oh, I believe a while ago.
Listen, she's not that good looking. Sorry.
You don't have to be good looking these days.
I don't even understand who's paying for the. All right, put me in large screen. I'm going to do a PSA, gentlemen.
Oh God,
gentlemen. This shit's available for free online. You never need to purchase pornography directly from the pornographer. It's free. All right, that's it. That's all I had. Stop doing it.
I legitimately thought your cat next to you was a Habib hat. I was like, oh, going full on. Oh, that's a cat.
It would be a Marab hat. I'm not putting him. Khabib, Khabib's got a terrorist training camp going on in Dagestan, from what I hear. I'm not.
He's got to make that money. He's broke now.
I guess is he? They took his.
Yeah. Say what you want. Say what you want about McGregor, and I have and will. He called the Habib being broke thing years ago. And I was like, oh,
what happened to his money?
I forget. I'll find it for you. But that's the rumor.
The dude could make a fortune just making a come. I'm not crying for him.
No,
he can make a fortune just a comeback fight, but like maybe chill on the terrorist training camp.
Maybe that's where all his money went. Yeah. So I'm with you on Jazz. She's way bigger. It's gonna grapple. Don't care about the decision prop. If she wins, it's grappling heavy. She is 7,800. I like her in all formats. Like, I don't get it. If I eat shit, I eat shit. But I'm on Jazz DeVicious pretty healthily here.
I don't actually know if Fatima Klein, by the way, can stop a takedown or not. But what I have noticed is that the lesser, up and coming female fighters cannot stop a takedown more often than not. So I don't know how to know it. She never fought anybody where I could really see if that's the. I mean, did you see anything where she could stop a takedown? I mean, I don't know.
I'm not sold. I just don't know.
Yeah.
Good prospect, but we'll see. Now, this next fight, before I click over to it, one of the largest discrepancies in topology pictures I can remember seeing. All right, let's talk about Luana Santos and Maria Agapova. One of these is accused of being a giant whore in the training room. It's not Luana Santos, which is just crazy. Sorry, had to be said. I know, maybe a little sexist, but whatever.
Who the hell is talking about that shit in the training room? What?
Agapova and one of her last opponents, Agapova and Marina Moroz. I think Marina Moroz lit her up for like just fucking all the dudes, and because they used to be training partners.
Oh.
The Agapova Marina Moroz lead up was entertaining. Anyway, Luana Santos 7-1 has got. I gotta make sure it's back-to-back wins in the UFC. Juliana, Killer Miller, Stephanie Egger. Okay wins, not great. Egger okay, Miller one-dimensional, but Agapova doesn't look much better. Has turned into a complete and total fraud. Line on this fight before I go too much further. Luana Santos is minus 415. Agapova is anywhere between plus 290 and plus 315, depending on the book. Fight ends inside the distance. It's minus 150. She's got a woman's fight with a big favorite that is favored to end inside the distance. Agapova finished by Julian Robertson by submission. Finished by Marina Moroz via submission. Knocked out by Shayna Dobson because she gassed out aggressively. And now we're taking this bitch to Denver. Good luck. Like, give me Luana Santos. The only reason she's not a core play is because I'd rather Bonfim, because he's a little bit safer, because women's MMA is still going to women's MMA. So, but still, I want very little, if none, of Agapova. I'm on Luana Santos. She looks better all around. It's a decent prospect, and Agapova's a fraud.
Man, I had such high hopes. I had such high hopes for Agapova early in her career after she destroyed Hannah Cyphers. Minus 1,000 against Shanna Dobson.
That was
really
bad.
one of the biggest underdog losses in history. She gasses out, and then she goes on an epic losing streak. I think Agapova is not a bad fighter. I think she's fine. She's tough. She's very strong. I think there's some skill issues there. There's some mental stuff going on in terms of her gassing herself out, getting crazy in there, and then just letting it all fly in round one. Obviously, if she does that here, that's a problem. But the biggest issue has been, and in these losses, has been that she can't really grapple or stop a takedown. And I think she's going to face some takedown attempts in this fight. And she's probably going to be put on her back. So, I agree with you. I think Bonfim is probably a better pay-up option here, but Santos should win this fight. Should probably get a couple takedowns along the way. Might even win it by submission. I could see it finishing inside the distance for sure. What is the ITD prop here?
It was minus 150 to end inside the distance.
Man, yeah, okay. I'm trying to think if I like that as a bet.
Santos wins inside the distance, minus 125.
Could Agapova win and say, yeah, she could get a knockout? I'd probably just take the minus 150 for the fight instead of
Agapova wins by TKO KO plus 900.
Yeah, but I mean, if
just saying.
Yeah, I think the expectation here is Luana's going to win. That's why that's that way. She's minus 400. I agree with the odds. You don't lose to Shanna Dobson and then beat Luana Santos. Like, it's not like Luana Santos has proven herself to be very good. Agapova is the next step on her ladder, and it's not really a step up against versus Egger. Like, could you not see Egger beating Agapova? Is it pronounced Agapova? I like
Agapova, I believe. I could be wrong. Who cares? No, I see Egger smashing Agapova.
That's what I'm saying. So I don't even think this is a step up for Santos. This is a sideways, maybe a step down. So yeah, give me Santos. I'm not sure how much exposure I'll have to this fight, but I'll have some.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Montel. I'll close this down. Montel Quick Jackson taking on Damon Blackshear.
Last fight, first fight of the night.
No, we got one more.
Oh yeah, that's right. There it is.
Line on this fight, Montel Jackson's minus 155 now. Come back on Blackshear's plus 130. Fight goes to decision, minus 180. DraftKings salaries here. Jackson's 8,600, Blackshear 7,600. Geek, I have a hard time with this one because I don't know which Montel Jackson's going to show up. Is it the guy who's in super boring fights, or is it the guy who's been in several fights that end super quick, violently? Like, it's hard to get a read on this one. How are you handling it?
I think we're going to see some fireworks here.
Really? See, I was leaning the other way, but I don't have a strong take.
I know. I think this one you got to get exposure to this fight. This is a grapple fest type of fight. Both guys go for lots and lots of takedowns. Let's see here. We've got Monty Jackson averaging almost 4 takedowns per 15, which is great, against an opponent with a 66% takedown defense. Fine by me. And then you've got Damon Blackshear. Damon. I'm watching House of the Dragon with Damon Targaryen. He's named after him. Who knew? Fan of G.R.R. Martin, Damon's mom. Damon Blackshear also goes for takedowns, 2.3 per 15. So he is a takedowns guy as well. So I think we're going to see a lot of back and forth grappling here. Takedown, get back up. Both guys can grapple a little bit. Blackshear has a little bit more striking volume. Jackson, maybe a little more grappling focused of a guy. It's super close. This is a dog that we have to pay attention to. In Blackshear, he's only plus 120, but you can get him on DraftKings for a relatively inexpensive 7,600. So live dog for sure, in my opinion. Do I have a strong take on who's going to win this fight? No. But the way I kind of see it, I kind of lean Jackson to win. But I think for DraftKings purposes, both of these guys are really, really good plays this week. I did not bet this fight. I don't have like that level of confidence in it. But the fact that I didn't bet it means I probably like the underdog a little bit. Certainly on DraftKings, plus 120. The odds are just reasonable compared to the price. and there is enough grappling here to score well on DraftKings. That's how I see it.
I kind of disagree, but not strongly. I think Montel Jackson, to me, he smokes the guys he smoked. He smoked a really old Hani Yaya, and he smoked. He didn't even smoke JPB. He smoked Jesse Strader. I kind of think this one plays out a little bit.
Julio Arce, he didn't. But a win versus Arce is not a bad win,
right? No, I'm talking scoring wise. I'm picking Montel Jackson. I think he's
not a great win.
Yeah, I think he's slightly better everywhere. Yeah, it's a great win. So I think he wins. I don't know about scoring here. And Damon Blackshear is good everywhere. You can grapple. I think Montel Jackson's going to have to kind of use his length, maintain, kind of mind his P's and Q's. I think he wins. I'm not sold on the scoring. Blackshear, I'm a little more comfortable playing because like I said, I think it's a close fight, just like you said. I mean, but if he wins at that price, I don't have to worry about it so much. I have to worry about Jackson and his price and the scoring. Not a strong take. I think Jackson wins, but for me in that price range, below him is Alhassan, but above him is Josh Van. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to play more of him than I'm going to play Fatima Klein at 8,400. So probably ends up in that kind of secondary range for me. I'll have a little bit of Montel Jackson. This will be the fight. I think I say it once in an episode. There's fights you won't always have the strongest read. I probably play this one vanilla. Look at the DFS Army memberships and kind of
the ownerships. Yeah, ownerships. Kind of just match the ownerships. You'll punt it. Don't make you stand on this one. Right. I could not take a stand on this. These guys are too similar to me.
Right. Exactly. I'll take my stands other places, like all in on the Brundage fight.
That's crazy too, but I get it.
Yeah. Well, there's 11 fights in the card. I'm gonna pick 2 big spots and fucking load up. It's probably what I end up doing.
This last fight features another potential fraud check.
This fight's weird. I'll let you say. So we got Josh Fremd and Andre Petroski. Fremd is, let me go look at the current odds right now. What I should do is, this is a pick 'em now. It's moved. Minus 110 a pop each side for Fremd and Petroski. Fight.
I think it's important to note that there has been line movement here. And Fremd started out as a plus 125 underdog. So the money has, basically whenever you're getting plus money on Fremd, people are betting it. Then as soon as it hit like minus money, that was it. So it looks like the field just thinks this is an even fight.
Yeah, I agree. And I lean towards Petroski. We'll talk about it more in a second. This fight is minus 165 to end inside the distance. I think this one is lined appropriately. It's a high variance type of fight. I lean towards the grappler in Petroski. Like Fremd lost to Roman Kopylov, got dropped. Lost to Trayshawn Gore, lost to Fluffy, and Petroski had that weird knockout. Like ground strikes after hard collision. I was at that fight. That's when he ran his head into the hip of Malkoun.
I still to this day, I had Petroski. I watched it over and over and over and over and over again. What the hell happened? And then they said he knocked himself out by smashing his head into Malkoun's hip. Exactly. I don't even understand that is possible. I still don't believe it.
So what happened? So it's a weird fight. Good. It's a middling salary fight. I think I heard the salaries 8,300 for Fremd, 7,900 on Petroski. It's similar to the Dober Silva fight in that it should end in a finish. Middling salaries. Petroski is different, and Petroski is going to want to grapple. I'm probably higher on Petroski than I am Fremd in terms of upside. There's more paths for Fremd to win a decision here, but I think if Petroski wins, he's going to pay off the 7,900. I like him in GPP. It's a good GPP fight here. That is our first fight of the night, last fight of the podcast. Geek, what do you have for it?
Yeah, I just want to say right off, this is actually a really good fight to target on DraftKings.
It is.
Like what you didn't mention was Petroski is an aggressive grappler. That's why I liked him against Malkoun, averaging 4.3 takedowns per 15. Now, listen, a little bit of that is because of the opponents that he's faced, but a little bit of it is just that's what he does. So he is an aggressive guy. He's an aggressive grappler. He was going for takedowns against Gerald Mearshart, and you're like, "What? Don't do that." But he was fine. So aggressive grappler, a bit of a fraud. But he's up against a guy in Josh Fremd who has not been very good at stopping takedowns throughout his career. He has a 31% career takedown defense. So Fremd, when you see a number that low, what it tells me is he basically allows himself to be taken down. He doesn't really resist it at all. Maybe because he thinks that he's good off of his back. I don't know. But he definitely allows himself to be taken down. So I don't think Petroski is going to have too much trouble landing takedowns. Will that translate into a win? I'm not sure. I kind of think Fremd will just find a submission or something along the way. Like, I think that Petroski will look like he is dominating this fight, win or lose. I think Fremd gets it. It's going to be something that he does, turn something around. Now he's on the back, fraud check, submission, right? That's how I think it's going to go down. So I think Petroski will be looking like he's winning. He might win, like he's dominating. And then and then something will happen. So I really like this fight. I think it has, I don't see how Petroski isn't scoring well while this fight is going on. Because again, Fremd cannot stop a takedown, and Petroski is very aggressive as a grappler. Now, I don't think he does anything else very well, but he does that. And so how does the fight go on? Let's say Petroski is winning the fight. It's going to be through takedown. Now, again, we're in Denver, and I'm going to paint a scenario here, Sniper. Petroski comes out. He looks great. 3 takedowns in round 1. Dominates round 1. Line minus 800 coming into round 2. And then we remembered that we're in elevation. This guy's kind of a fraud, and he starts to get tired. And he gets knocked the fuck out. And it's like if it was anybody else but Fremd, I would be even more confident. Fremd, I don't think he's very good either. But I could just see Petroski just fumbling it, looking like he's going to win, looking great round 1, and then just it falls off a cliff. I think it's a great fight to pay attention to live and maybe even live bet it. And as for DraftKings, I think if Petroski wins, it's going to score really well. And if Fremd wins, it's probably by finish. So I like this fight for DraftKings. I like the price point. I'm going to have a lot of these guys. Trust me, my desire is to full fade Petroski and go with this weird lean I have that Fremd will like pull it off in round 2 or 3. But Petroski's score will be so good if he wins. He simply cannot be full faded. You have to play some lineups with this guy because he's going to be going for takedowns against somebody who can't stop him. So you got to play a little bit of that. That's how I see it. You got to play a little bit, but I kind of have a weird feeling that Fremd is going to pull it out.
All right. Opposite sides for the first fight, but a good fight to target. That is all 11 fights. Let's talk kill shots. Before we do that, make sure you go sign up at DFS Army if you're not a member already. Got a domination station optimizer, tons of cheat sheets, picks, Discord. Just go to the website. The links are down below. I won't tell you on it huge this week. I do it every week, but you should listen. You should go check it out. Tons of winning going on. Do it before football season. It's coming. But I cannot wait to start cranking out football and basketball.
No, I mean, not to mention, and you always glaze over the sub that you're, aside from the MMA.
I don't always.
You glaze over
props. All right.
The props subscription at DFS Army is up like $20,000 since last September. We track everything. Up over
$22,200 right now.
How much is it?
$22,000
since September. This year alone, what is the number?
In the calendar year 2024, 12,000.
12,000. This is a tracked. Every play is tracked. You get plays on Prize Picks, Sleeper app, Underdog, regular sports books, all mixed into one. Will Lynn and Sniper giving these out. It's $35 a month. Prop subscription. That is what you want to check out.
Just a little bit of stoppage time away from cash in the soccer play today. Let's see if that's gonna. Just
oh, that's right. No, what was it? Spain. What was the play?
It was Spain tie no bet. They won 2-1. That was a unit, and then we got Argentina minus 1.5. That is about to cash.
Spit and fire all the time on the prop sub. So if you guys are DFS Army subscribers, you should be in the props channel. If you don't have VIP, you can get that prop subscription. If you sign up for NFL, and you're a full year subscriber also. You can get a 12-month package right now for NFL, get the offseason coverage, the best ball stuff, everything we do. So make sure to check it out. And of course,
I got to start playing.
Well, I'm doing best ball all month. We're hammering it out, videos, everything. We'll get you ready. And then in August, we are going to be doing back testing and NFL prep. Get ready, teach how to use the optimizer, teach everybody everything that we know, get better, practice. That's what we do in DFS Army. So if you want to up your DFS game, this is a place to be. And, they've done this penny game shit on DraftKings. It's been great for screwing around with the optimizer and just understanding how to enter 150. So hopefully they'll continue doing that sort of thing on DraftKings, give you practice, and it's a great way to just use the optimizer, knock out 300 lineups, and kind of get a sense for how to do that. So if you're not into it, make sure to check it out.
With you guys, go do that now. Killshot for the show. We wrap it up with under own play. Don't want chalk. Who's going to win you a GPP? Kind of that under own shot. And you know what? I can go first because I know I'm not stealing yours. I'm on my man Juicy J this week. That is where I'm the cheapest live fighter. I'm gonna hope he comes through for me. I'll go with Julian Arosa.
I've got a few quote unquote underdogs I like, but they don't necessarily qualify, like Jazz DeVicious and
chalky. She's got to be chalky.
Yeah, and Jean Silva. So I'm not going to use either of those because I don't think they qualify as a kill shot, even though they are the cheaper fighter in their fights. For my kill shot, I'm going with Cody Brundage, and it feels gross. I don't like it.
I don't hate it. Yeah,
I don't enjoy putting any faith in Cody Brundage, but I think at elevation, if he has any sort of gas tank, if he doesn't get knocked the fuck out in the first 2 minutes, he should be able to at some point do some grappling, tire out Alhassan, and win, and even win with a decent to, good score. So I'll do that. But like I said, I'll go back to the fact that, I like Jean Silva and Jazz more, but they don't qualify.
Like it. All right, guys. All 11 fights broken down for DraftKings and bets mixed. And I meant to mention the other bet I made that I didn't even mention is I played Bonfim via submission. Specifically, when he wins, it tends to be that aggressive grappling, and I got a decent number on that. So other than that, we mixed in some bets along the way. 11 fights, Monk. We will see you next week. Hopefully, he's got out of fucking traffic. That's what we got for this week. Hit the like button, share with your friends, and we will see you next time.